Hi, my name is Carrie O'Toole, and this is my Interpersonal Communication Project Final for Human Services 508 at Liberty University. Next slide, please. The goal of this project is to define interpersonal communication, to set up my overarching goal, give you some of my personal background along with my behavioral blend, explain some of the potential barriers I see toward reaching my overarching goal and the solutions that I've come up with through the information in this class, and to develop a plan of action. Next slide, please. In his book, Bridges Not Walls, John Stewart describes or defines interpersonal communication as the continuous, complex, collaborative process of verbal and nonverbal meaning making. Peterson, in his book, Why Don't We Listen Better?, gave us a tool that I have found very useful. On one side is the roles of the talker, and on the other side is the role for the listener. The talker is the one who is the most bothered and owns the problem. The goals for the talker would be to share their feelings and to share their thoughts without accusing, attacking, labeling, or judging. The listener, on the other hand, needs to be calm enough to hear and understand that they do not own the problem. The goals for the listener would be to provide safety and understanding and clarification for the talker, so they're helping the talker clarify what they're trying to say, without agreeing, disagreeing, advising, or defending. And I found this tool to be very useful. In her book, Listening the Forgotten Skill, Madeline Burley Allen talks about 3 different types of listening: the empathic response, advice response, asking question response, and critical response. I took the self-evaluation test in the book and found that most of the time I use an empathic response, which is what I would want. And several times I went to the asking question response, which she said is okay, but just be careful not to ask too many questions and not to ask questions before the empathic response is given. I was very thankful to find that I did not have advice or critical responses, so that was good. Next slide, please. I define my overarching goal as using my life experiences to help broken people find a path to healing, and I want to do that through writing, speaking, counseling, and groups. Next slide. My overarching goal is to be used to help enlarge the conversation. I defined enlarging the conversation as using my strengths and gifts to help the process of communication through writing, speaking, listening, and facilitating in my own sphere of influence. And once again, I want to do this through books that I'm writing, through speaking, through groups that I lead, and just individually with people that I know, my friends, my family, and people that I run into professionally or just casually. Next slide, please. My background is that I come from a dysfunctional family, although I didn't realize they were dysfunctional until about my mid-30s. My dad was elected Father of the Year in the newspaper at one point, and so how could my family be dysfunctional? It wasn't until I had my own children and started recognizing some very strange things in our family that I realized I needed to get some help. My undergraduate degree is in music education, vocal and instrumental, and my career before having children was as a high school band director. I had a couch in my office and found kids coming into my office all the time during lunch and between passing periods and before and after school. And they would sit on my couch and ask me questions and ask for advice on relationship issues, things going on at home, problems they were having with teachers and with grades, and so there's where my counseling career began. Through having children and working through some of my family of origin and even current family issues, I started about a 15-year course of personal and family counseling, through which I worked through a lot of pain and now find myself walking through pain with other people as they go through it and need somebody that will walk through it with them. Next slide. Mel's Carbonell, in his book How to Solve the People Puzzle, Understanding Personality Patterns, he designed and developed the DISC personality profile. As I took that personality test, I found myself to be D, direct, S, submissive, and C, competent. This combination says that I would have a blend of strength, sensitivity, and serious thinking. I tend to be outwardly confident but inwardly timid, which is very true. He recommends that I don't hesitate to speak to large groups. I do relate well with individuals, but can also challenge large crowds with my dreams and research, and that's what I hope to do. So his challenge to me is to overcome my disinterest in public speaking and force myself to inspire and influence the masses. Next slide. I went to discoveryhealth.com and took the Interpersonal Communication Skills test, and my insightfulness score was 100, which says that I am extremely adept at interpreting other people's words and actions. I recognize that empathy is essential, and I can sense what others are thinking and adjust my words and reactions accordingly. Next slide. The potential barriers that I see toward reaching my overarching goal. The first one is that I am working on writing a clear and concise book proposal so that I can get my book to an agent, which will then be able to get me into a publishing company. The next one is that I need to ask for speaking engagements, which means I need to push through my fear of public speaking and not wanting to be seen as arrogant. And then I need to market myself, which once again pushes against that inward timidity that the DISC profile exposed. Next slide. The solutions that I would like to use, Burley Allen, in her book Listening the Forgotten Skill, talks about being aware of our internal thought processes, and I definitely recognize that I have some negative internal thought processes that tell me I'm not good enough, or I can't do it, or people don't want to hear what I have to say anyway. So I need to fight against that. Stewart, in his book Bridges Not Walls, talked about a process called nexting, and I can see this being very valuable in interpersonal communication as well as communicating with agents, editors, potential speaking engagements, anything professional as well. Nexting is just understanding that I have power in conversations and in communication, that through listening and understanding what the person wants, that I have the control over the next thing that I say, and that I can influence a conversation each time based on the next thing that I do or say. I found that I would really like to spend more time with the DISC profile. It was very valuable and helpful, but with the level of the intensity of work through this course and another program that I'm involved in and trying to write the books, I found I didn't have enough time to really delve in and understand this. So I would like to spend more time working through my DISC profile. And then in another class that I'm taking outside of Liberty, I have been using Marcus Buckingham's book, Now Discover Your Strengths. He has a Strengths Finder test in there, and I discovered that I have my five top strengths. The first one is strategic, and what that means is I have an ability or a strength to wade through all of the different options and all of the things that are out there and find the best path to get there. I have a strength of individualization, meaning that I'm good at recognizing each individual and what their strength is and how they're addressing a problem or what they want to be heard on. And I have an ability to be interested in each person's story, which makes each person feel valuable and that they have something to offer. I have what Marcus Buckingham calls the gift of woo, which is winning others over. And hopefully that will really be a benefit to me as I try to publish my book and get some speaking engagements, because if people are won over to what it is that I'm trying to offer, it will come much more easily and more naturally for me. I have a gift of communication, both written and oral. I was going to say written and verbal, but that's the same thing. Written and oral communication, which is very good since I want to be a writer and a speaker. And I also have the gift of empathy, meaning that I have an ability to understand life from other people's perspectives and feel what they are feeling so that I can understand where they're coming from. Next slide. My plan of action for achieving my overarching goal is I am going to graduate from Liberty University with my master's in May of 2012. I'm going to graduate from a program that's a mentorship program led by Liberty University graduate and million-copy best-selling author Shannon Ethridge. It's called BLAST, which stands for Building Leaders, Authors, Speakers, and Teachers, which is exactly what I want to do, and it's a program helping me work through each of these steps of getting my book finished, getting the book proposal done, and getting published, as well as starting my speaking career as well. I want to finish my website, which should be done by the first of the year, finish my bio page and my business cards. I want to polish my first book proposal in the next several weeks and get that sent off to where I can get an agent who will then be able to get me into a publishing house to get my book published. I want to pursue speaking engagements, and I have a second book that I've begun, and I want to begin my book proposal for that as well. So all of this content from the Interpersonal Communications class and helping me define my overarching goal has really helped me see where I want to go next. And I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. Thank you.